You did everything right. You went to bed on time, you clocked in a full 8 hours, but when that alarm went off, you felt like you'd barely slept at all. It is one of the most frustrating feelings in the world, and it's exactly what we're going to get to the bottom of today.
So, does this sound familiar? If it does, you are so not alone. This feeling of, unrefreshing sleep is incredibly common, and it's a huge clue that something is getting in the way of the truly restorative rest your body needs. So, let's go find out what it is.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle the paradox itself, the big difference between just being in bed and getting real rest. Then, we'll move into the stuff you can actually control, like your room and your daily habits. After that, we'll dig a little deeper into some hidden sleep disruptors and other medical stuff, before we wrap it all up with a clear plan to help you finally feel rested again.
Okay, let's dive right in. The very first thing we have to get our heads around is that the number of hours you're in bed, it can be totally misleading. The real goal isn't just about hitting that magic number 8, it's all about the kind of sleep you're getting during that time. This right here is the heart of the whole issue. Think of it like this. Sleep quantity is just how long your car is parked in the garage. But sleep quality, that's the actual repair and maintenance work that's supposed to happen overnight. You can have 8 hours of choppy, low-quality sleep, kind of like a mechanic who keeps getting interrupted, and you'll feel way worse than someone who got 6 solid hours where the work actually got done.
So let's start with the most immediate and, frankly, the most empowering part of our investigation. The things you have direct control over. These are the little tweaks you can make to your bedroom and your daily routines, maybe even starting tonight.
Let's talk about the science here for a second. To even begin deep sleep, your body's core temperature actually needs to drop a couple of degrees. It's this ancient primal signal that tells your brain, okay, it's safe to power down now. A warm room is actively fighting against that process. So yeah, 65 degrees might sound a little chilly, but what you're really doing is working with your body's biology, not against it.
Your brain has a really simple on-off switch. Light means wake up, dark means wind down. But our world is just flooded with artificial light, especially that blue light from our phones and screens. This light basically hacks our brain, hitting the brakes on the release of melatonin. That's the hormone that makes you feel sleepy. And get this, studies show that even a tiny bit of dim light, like a street light peeking through your curtains, is enough to break up your sleep and pull you right out of those super important deep stages.
And what you eat during the day? Oh yeah, that has a huge impact on your rest at night. The data shows that diets higher in protein can actually help you sleep longer overall, and high-fiber foods seem to boost that critical deep sleep. But on the flip side, high-fat meals can cause you to wake up more, and a ton of carbs, especially right before bed, might actually cut into your deep sleep time.
Now let's talk about the big one, stress. Stress and sleep are locked in this brutal, punishing feedback loop. When you're stressed out, your body is pumping out cortisol, which is an alertness hormone. That's great if you're, running from a tiger, but it's absolutely terrible for falling asleep. Then, that night of bad sleep makes it harder for your brain to manage emotions, which makes you even more sensitive to stress the next day. It is a classic vicious cycle that can be so hard to break.
So what happens if you've done everything right? Your room is perfect, your habits are on point, but you're still exhausted. Well, now it's time to look a little deeper. The problem might actually be an underlying condition that's wrecking the very structure of your sleep, a lot of the time without you even knowing it's happening. I want you to think of sleep apnea like this. Your body is hitting the emergency brake on your breathing over and over and over all night long. Each time your breathing stops, your brain has to jolt you awake just enough to get it started again. Now, you probably won't remember these little awakenings, but they can happen hundreds of times a night, and they completely block you from ever reaching the deep sleep your body desperately needs to repair itself.
Now, unlike sleep apnea, which messes up your sleep after it starts, restless leg syndrome often stops you from even getting to sleep in the first place. People describe it as this uncomfortable, creepy, crawly feeling in their legs that creates this powerful, irresistible urge to move them. And that makes it nearly impossible to just lie still and drift off.
This quote, it hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? When your fatigue gets this deep, when it doesn't get better no matter how much you try to rest, it might be a sign that the problem isn't just about sleep anymore. It could be a symptom of something happening across your entire body.
Okay, let's zoom out for our final area of investigation. What if your fatigue isn't really a sleep problem at its root? What if it's actually a warning light on your body's dashboard, signaling a completely different systemic issue?
There are a few really common culprits here. With something like iron deficiency anemia, your body just can't move oxygen around efficiently, and without oxygen, you have no energy. With thyroid disorders, your body's entire engine, its metabolism, is either stuck in first gear or it's redlining and about to burn out. And then you have chronic fatigue syndrome, which is also known as ME, a really complex and debilitating disease where that profound fatigue is the main event.
Okay, this is a super important distinction, so listen closely. Chronic fatigue is a symptom, right? It's like a headache. It can be caused by tons of different things. But chronic fatigue syndrome, or CFS/ME, that is a specific illness. Its defining telltale feature is something called post-exertional malaise, which is a fancy way of saying that even a tiny bit of physical or mental effort can trigger a massive energy crash that can last for days or even weeks. They are not the same thing.
All right, so after exploring all of these possibilities, from the temperature of your room all the way to complex medical conditions, where on earth do you go from here? Let's pull all these threads together into a logical, step-by-step plan you can actually use.
Here is your path forward. Seriously, start with what you can control, your environment and your habits, and give it a real shot for a couple of weeks. While you're doing that, become a detective. Track your symptoms. Just keep a simple journal. How did you sleep? How did you feel the next day? If things don't get better, you now have specific, valuable information to bring to a doctor. You can walk in and go from saying, "I'm tired," to, "I'm tired even though my room is cool and dark, I've cut out screen time, and I'm still waking up exhausted." That is so much more powerful.
Because ultimately, this is the question you need to be asking yourself. Instead of seeing this constant fatigue as some kind of personal failure, try to see it as a message. Your body's giving you data. It's talking to you. And by investigating it piece by piece, you can learn to decode that message and finally find your way back to feeling truly deeply rested.